Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Basil, founder of Sendit Markets, and today I want to talk about the differences of building a startup in Web3 in 2025 compared to what it was like in 2021 and essentially the last bull cycle. Well, before we get into any misconceptions, is there a bull cycle right now in 2025? We don't know. We don't know. Is the bull cycle over? Is the 4 year cycle in general over? We don't know. Okay. But if you're generally optimistic about the tech that is currently in the space and just the blockchain technology and how it can serve to actually benefit users and building possibly even a decentralized economy, decentralized society, decentralized products that serves these communities, then I do believe we're moving into that direction, and I do believe that there will be mass adoption, but in each of those different sectors, of course. Now, to the topic at hand, what is it like building a startup in the Web3 space now in 2025 compared to what it was like in the bull cycle in 2021? I will say there are definitely some differences, and I will say in general, as a founder, it's in general not easy to be a founder, especially if you want to build a product and serve it to and essentially take it to market, right? There's too many steps that's in between, right? From the idea that you're trying to solve, pitching your idea that you are solving, and whether it's to the consumer base, depending on who your consumer is, whether you're raising capital or not, and so to investors, whether it's angels or VCs, or just going to the public, doing a public raise, or even just building your product in general, right? And finding a team and hiring people and all of those different things. Like those in general is like something that every founder, no matter whether you're Web3 or just Web2, you're still always just gonna like. If you're new, you're just gonna be going through it, and the best way to learn is just by going through it, right? It's how quick you're able to adapt and pivot, is where you basically it really shows true strength, in being able to actually deliver what it is that you want to solve, whether it's a product and so on. So let's take the current market at hand. In 2025, we've obviously seen bull markets. We've seen Bitcoin, especially in a bull. It's like 97,000 to 100. It's already peaked over 100 a couple times. But what we've noticed is actually every other token in the market, altcoins, they've actually underperformed. In fact, they've done worse than last year and the year before. At least I would say 99% of them, right? Which is different than 2021. And I think majority of the reason why is because in 2021, when users were interested in trying to be able to create gains for themselves, right, earn capital gains, it was easier to be able to choose where to make those investments. When you only had 10,000 tokens on the market, right, it was easier to filter out what is good project from a bad project. While now in 2025, since I would say all these launch pads, which is like, for example, launch like Pump Fund, anyone can go now and create a token in less than 5 seconds. The market has essentially been flooded with 30 million plus tokens, and that's growing daily. So what has happened is liquidity in general has become fragmented. So what that means is like the amount of money or whatever money that's entering the space is not going to those so-called utility projects or like those top 500 altcoins. They are, but it's not coming at the same rate that it was coming in 2021, right? So you'll notice that those people or individuals who have raised capital or invested in those projects, whether it's a consumer or even an investor, they're not seeing the same returns unless something specific that's unique about that project is performing well, right? While now what you're noticing is that retail consumers and mindshare in general is being sucked up by these new coins, and the mindshare usually is dependent on like mainly one thing. It's like, does it have a good reason for why I need to invest? Is it funny? So for example, like if it's funny, if it's does it have a community behind it? Is it relative to the current moment and meta? But you also have to understand that this comes with a shorter lifespan, right? And so things go up and die almost most of the times in the same day. And when that happens, usually investors also, there's a lot of losers in this case, right? There's a lot of people who'll make that, who'll make the transition of putting in their funds to gamble for speculative purposes, of course, but end up losing. So there's a lot of losers, and so that means like you're losing all your investment. And when people lose their investments, most of the time, like there's so much investments, like capital that the individual has for him to be able to risk. And as that number decreases, the number of users decrease and the number of liquidity decreases. And then when it's being spread out through different narratives and different coins and different investments for whatever purposes, what happens is the liquidity is just thinning out, right? Now, why am I talking about capital and all of these different things when I'm talking about as a startup founder? Why is that difficult? Now, how does this all relate to being a startup founder in the Web3 space, and why is it difficult and different than 2021? Well, since this is happening, typically most accredited investors or just investors in general see two things. They either see, okay, there's better opportunities for me to get liquid positions on the open market for so-called utility projects that are legitimate, that, like I know the team, I could look them up, research them, see their backgrounds, and make that bet. The second thing is new projects and new metas. What's their purpose, right? Like, what is the current problem that they're solving with their project? And if there isn't enough narrative to push their project, how can it find its feet compared to the other competitors? So, because let's say AI right now is something that's very popular, okay? So everybody's going to say, my best chance to be able to build a product in this space is going to probably build around AI, because most of the attention and mind share is in that direction. All right. But now what happens is your funnel on that side is going to be, there's a large pool of competition over there. All right. Now, how do you distinguish what team is better than the other? That's going to come down to the product and their network, I'll be honest. On the other hand, you're going to have individuals who are going to try, okay, I'm not going to go follow this side, but let's address other problems that are also available in the market that maybe is not currently highlighted, but we do see in the foreseen future a possibility, a high likeliness for a reason for why me building a project in that direction is going to make sense. Now, what happens when you're going into this direction is you have most of the eyeballs already looking on one side. And if you're building on the other side, you're going to have to try to create that initial interest, like saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're not on that pile. We're on this pile. But also, by the way, did you know that there is actually all these problems that we could solve with building a product like this? And what usually happens is investors are going to have to obviously look into whether those claims are correct or not, whether it is true or not. But then you also have a lot of investors who are just like any other individual, retail investor is going to be thinking, no, mind share is here. Let's not go in that direction right now. And why is because there's going to be short-term investors, long-term investors. So it's really important to be able to actually distinguish those two when you're going to raise, for example, or trying to build a product and trying to get attention from individuals, whether it's retail, whether it's investors, and so on and so forth. So it's very important in the beginning to identify your target customer, your target investors, and then double down on those. So now, why is that different than 2021? I would say it's different than 2021 because in 21, everything at the time was exciting. Whether it was the NFT space or whether it was the DeFi space, it was very easy to try to say, because it was so new, the ability to start building applications on blockchain was relatively all new. Essentially, everything that was being built on chain was thought that was necessary. Most times, you don't really need to use the blockchain for whatever it is that you're building. But back then, because it was very exciting, everyone and everything that was building on chain was essentially exciting, right? So backing back then was really easy. So you'll notice people who will go out there and raise multiple, 7, 8 figures. Now, currently, because mindshare is dedicated in one area, you need to be able to create a unique story for or a unique product that's going to solve a specific problem that's going to be happening in the near future. And even in the direct market currently, how do you think you can position your project and product to be able to capture that value and provide value to those customers? Now, there's a different meta also, all right, which is essentially we're seeing a transition now from all of this meme coins, all of this, VC backed coins or whatever it may be, just coins in general. The terminology of coins is a little bit brought down the how can I say it? The value of these coins, right? Like essentially just everybody being able to launch a coin just doesn't make sense. So what has happened, and there's a transition that I see happening, where it's going to be about building projects that build revenue. And those are the ones that you want to be able to get involved with, right? Um, Essentially building a business on chain, but making it public. And if, depending on your consumer, whoever it is, whether it's a B2B or a B2C, um, acquire those users, get your first 100 users, grow that to 1,000, take that to 10,000, and essentially dominate micro communities and establish yourself in that community and slowly expand it. Why? Because over time, the compound effect of growing and building a community around your product that is solving a problem for those specific to use that product, what ends up happening is you'll have people talking and you'll slowly start taking mind share from the market, and you'll be creating mind share around what it is that you're building. Now, when you do that, you're going to capture attention. And when you capture attention from the larger players, they're going to want to understand, okay, how does the business work? How is this business going to bring back value to our ecosystem? And it will transition to more of an acquisition style. So what I mean is you're going to want to turn into what it is like in Web 2. Web 2 is like building products, get users, capture micro communities, sell company. And that is essentially what's going to happen, or what is I see happening now also in Web 3. There's going to be a transition into just buying a business that's on chain, that's captured attention, and then acquisitions. The second route is if you have a community and this community really believes, depending on what it is, and most of the times this works well if it's a retail community, not a B2B, so it's a B2C, right? And you take your B2B, B2C community, and your community starts saying like, hey, we also love this product so much that we want to get involved with the potential upside of this project and the product that we continuously use because you've retained us and our attention. So then the community starts pushing for the direction of having the ability to get involved and want, you know, the upside of the project and a token. So then in return, you can take that into consideration and proceed with building a token and providing value to your community aside from the project's value that it already provides. So, what I mean specifically is we are transitioning towards utility again and away from memes and away from nonsense. And we are transitioning back away into utility, but there's two kinds of utility. There is I don't understand it utility, which I don't think that is going to last, and it's very difficult to grow because I don't understand it. The other one is going to be, oh, I get it. And it's like easy utility, easy to get utility, which is like, I understand it. Um, and those are going to be mostly around products that bring utility to and value, most importantly, to that end consumer. Do you understand? So, me as a consumer, someone who's using your product or platform, I see great value in using your product. And now, because I use it every day and you retained my attention, I want to see the upside and grow it further. And I want to be a part of the upside of this platform. And so that, my friends, is the difference in 2025. If you're trying to build a product as a startup, build in unique positions where you can distinguish yourselves to be different rather than the majority and common directions that most people will go through. Although it is difficult on both sides, all right, and maybe there's more challenges on one than the other, but the most important thing is identify your consumer. So identify who is your user, and then second of all, who is your investor. Because the investors, all they care about essentially is the potential growth of your product and the value that they put in, and then the potential value that they can also get out. And that's about it. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you like this content. Making videos every single day. So cheers. If you guys want to learn about anything else that's in crypto, as someone that's been in the space for 4+ years, and the e-commerce background for 10+ years from across Shopify, eBay, also DM me. If you want to know about how to make passive income online, ask those questions and we'll build. I'll make videos around them. Cheers.